Okay, so Tanya, could you advance to the next slide? Thank you. I just want to let people know that we'll send you out the PowerPoint presentation after this, and you will also get copies of the protocol development tools. We're very intentional in doing this presentation and rolling these documents out this way because we want to kind of give people the opportunity to have a walkthrough and get some of the context behind what's in the protocol development tools. And, just so you have some familiarity with them, the intention behind them, and how to use them. So I'd like to start out by talking a little bit about the process of growth. Anybody who's been alive over the last 4 years, unless you've been under a rock or living in a bunker, I'm sure that you're not the same person that you were 4 years ago. That's a good thing. And, the whole point of this is our world has greatly changed. And I think that this quote, growth is a spiral process, doubling back on itself, reassessing and regrouping, is very timely for the work that we do. It sets the stage for what we're about to talk about. First, it comes from a trailblazing woman artist, and the picture shows a spiral, which is an ancient universal symbol for growth, expansion, and evolution. So Julia Margaret Cameron, she was a pioneer in the field of photography in the Victorian era. She was this lone middle-aged woman with a newfangled contraption called a camera who went out on the streets of London. Her kids got it for her on her birthday as a gift and something to give her something to do in her spare time, since they'd all fled the home, empty nest syndrome. So Cameron used her camera to capture the emotional depth and humanity of her subjects, and they came from all walks of life. And in a time when women weren't supposed to be out in the public sphere, let alone walking the streets of London taking pictures, she was brave enough to document real people. Now, as a gathering of diverse professionals who work to respond to victims of violence against women crimes, county stop teams are constantly growing, whether they acknowledge it or not. All of you have gained a depth of experience with the real people that you serve. You've been exposed to the complex nature of intimate partner violence and the response protocols that all of you have written for your counties over the years reflect reassessment of policies, procedures, and actions at the local level. Some came about because of changing laws. Others came about because the team understood the humanity of the people you were dealing with and the trauma of the violence that they had undergone. So I think reassessing and regrouping are essential to moving back and forth on the spiral of relevancy and responsiveness in the changing world that we live in. Next slide, please. And I realize that sometimes I'm guilty of being kind of arty and philosophical, but I thought another way to look at this is to look at how things have changed since VAWA was first enacted to our time we are in now. So in 1994, Bill Clinton was president and he signed VAWA. Now in 2022, Joe Biden, who sponsored VAWA, is now the president. Back in 1994, only 16% of us had a cell phone, and these were the old flip ones that you could really only make a phone call on. Very few people used the internet, and spam emails didn't even exist. At that time, only 11% of us were connected to the internet, and streaming services like Apple Music, Netflix, all of that, they weren't even a thing. In 1994 was when Pennsylvania passed legislation that established what would eventually become PFAD, or the Protection from Abuse Database. That's something that you guys use every day in your job. And finally, in 1994, a federal assault weapons ban was enacted, and this was allowed to expire in the early 2000s. Now, when we fast forward to 2022 and 2023, all of us know we're living in a digital world. We've got the internet touching all aspects of our lives. We've gone from 11 million homes connected to the internet to 109 million. Spam fills everybody's inboxes. And as we all know, some of those messages can contain malicious software that's designed to steal sensitive personal and financial information. So that also leads to confidentiality concerns that we've never had before. They've expanded beyond the courtroom and entered the realm of electronic communication through texting, social media, and the case management systems that all of us use every day in our work and personal lives. We've got new crimes now, such as sex trafficking and revenge porn. They're receiving greater attention because they're mostly rooted in sexual and domestic violence. As you can see also, Pennsylvania recently amended its Megan's Law registration requirements to include people who are convicted of sex trafficking. In terms of spirals, doubling back and reassessing, gun violence is once again a prominent issue, as virtually all levels of our society are impacted through mass shootings and domestic violence homicides. And maybe it isn't so remarkable that we've gone from our favorite television show being Friends to now being Stranger Things. Next slide, please. So why revisit the protocol requirements? We realize that over the years, STOP grantees, you've all really undertaken a very thoughtful and conscientious effort to write and implement response protocols for your counties and communities. And PCCD knows the work that you've put into it, and we really appreciate it. From our perspective as administrators of the STOP Formula Grant Program, PCCD staff think we're at an important juncture in the way we address intimate partner violence in Pennsylvania. At the federal level, there have been new requirements and certifications included in the reauthorization of VAWA 2022. So the protocols are a strategy for making sure that everybody who gets a STOP grant is in compliance, ultimately making the whole Commonwealth in compliance with the Federal Office on Violence Against Women's requirements for getting the STOP funding. We've also noticed that there's a really wide variety of the topics addressed in county protocols, and no single county protocol really addresses everything that's needed. It's important to note that PCCD, this is not a criticism of grantees for this. Over the last 30 years, there have been many important changes in legislation at the state and national level, increasing recognition of the depth and scope of the impact of trauma, and there's constantly evolving approaches to the investigation and prosecution of violence against women crimes. And really, it's a daunting task for any one person or organization to keep up on all of this. We also heard from members of our statewide STOP Implementation Planning Committee, surveys to the field, monitoring visits, and focus groups of responders that they needed training across systems to improve response and strengthen collaboration. So that's how the statewide STOP protocols started. Next slide. So in early 2021, PCCD called together a work group of statewide stakeholder partners. So represented on the group were the Administrative Office of the Pennsylvania Courts, the Pennsylvania Coalition Against Domestic Violence, the Pennsylvania Coalition Against Rape, the Pennsylvania District Attorneys Association, and the Pennsylvania Chiefs of Police Association. And what we wanted was that each organization brought their subject matter expertise, their unique insights, and specialized technical assistance materials to the table. The work groups met 18 times, and the tools have gone through numerous revisions. So we've really put thought into this and attempted to incorporate the perspectives of all the systems. And we wanted to make sure that what we at the state level are asking you to do out there in the counties, that we followed a similar process, so that what we're asking you to do at the county level, we've actually gone through it ourselves. So what I'd like to do now is to give an opportunity for the work group members to introduce themselves to you. We do want to acknowledge that Greg Rowe, who is the Executive Director of the District Attorneys Association, is not able to be present today, but we do have some information to provide on his behalf. So let's start out with Amy Keener.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Amy Keener, and I'm a Judicial Programs Administrator at the Administrative Office of Pennsylvania Courts. One of the projects that I work on is our STOP-funded 5% set aside. So our STOP grant, which we use to fund scholarships, trainings, and court improvement projects. I was part of the statewide cross-system collaborative team that produced the current STOP implementation plan, and also part of the protocol development guide project. The protocols are a way to create consistency for the field. They can serve as best practices for victims from a trauma-informed lens, streamline court processes for victims, and in turn help victims become comfortable and willing to come forward for help. Jamie.
Hi everyone, I'm Jamie Peasy. I'm the STOP Grant Consultant at the AOPC. My role in this project was to take all of the information provided by the members of the work group and organize it into the STOP Grant protocol development guides that we are introducing today.
Okay, Danny.
Hi, everyone. So for those of you who do not know who I am, my name is Danny Beinshoff, and I am the Legal Services Manager for PCCD. My role at PCCD is including overseeing our legal services team and the operation of the Protection from Abuse database, otherwise known as PPAD or FAD. In my role, I provide a variety of technical assistance to domestic violence programs, courts, law enforcement, and prosecutors' offices on law-related policy issues, practices, and technical legal questions, and I believe the protocol development guides are a really valuable resource for STOP teams because they provide, they set a much needed baseline that includes both legal updates and best practices, and addresses a lot of stuff that has evolved or changed in the wake of the COVID-19. Excited to be here with you all.
Thank you. Marley?
Hi everyone, my name is Marley Mayon and I'm the Training Projects Coordinator at the Pennsylvania Coalition Against Rape, PCAR. In my job at PCAR, I'm responsible for designing and providing training and technical assistance on a wide variety of sexual violence topics. I think the protocol development guides are important because they're a centralized resource that pull together a wide variety of really useful technical assistance tools all in one location. The protocol development guides are a trauma-informed resource that can be used by STOP teams regardless of their skill level or prior experience on STOP teams.
Thank you. Ken?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ken Zapovsky, and I'm the Grants Management and Technology Coordinator for the Pennsylvania Chiefs of Police Association. In my role at the PCPA, I oversee the development and implementation of STOP-related courses on the Pennsylvania Virtual Training Network for Law Enforcement, or the PAVTN for short. I think the best thing about the protocol development tools is if STOP teams follow the steps outlined in the tool, all members of the team will understand why they are there, how the collaborative response contributes to victim safety and offender accountability, and the importance of their role in creating a seamless trauma-informed response to domestic violence and sexual assault.
Thanks, Ken. And now we'll have Brian Schroyer, who's the manager of the Office of Victim Services, present some comments on behalf of Greg Rowe, who is the Executive Director of PDAA.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Brian Schroyer, as Natalie said, and unfortunately, Greg was not, the director was not able to attend here from the Pennsylvania District Attorneys Association. Among the many duties that Greg has, one of them is to represent the policies of PDAA and the interest of district attorneys on committees and groups. Greg believes the protocol development guides will create consistency across the field and help stop team members understand each other's role, which will improve services for survivors. The District Attorneys Association is going to be offering training this year, which is specifically designed to help counties come into the compliance with the new VAWA certification requirement for prosecution. The protocol guides also have information in them to help counties meet the new certification. And that's it, Nat. Thank you.
Okay. So now I'm going to turn it over to Jamie Peasy, who you just were introduced to. Jamie's going to give you a little walkthrough of the way the protocol guides are organized and point out some of the features that we've incorporated to help you as you work through them. So Jamie?
Thanks, Natalie. So I'd like to provide a brief overview of our protocol guides. After years of planning, we're really excited to finally introduce these tools to the field. To begin, we know you're busy providing direct services. Engaging in multidisciplinary protocol development probably seems pretty daunting. That's why we've designed these tools to eliminate a lot of the guesswork and organizational problems that come with creating protocols from scratch or from piecing together unrelated templates from several different agencies. These tools provide all of the information STOP teams need to create, supplement, or refine their domestic violence and sexual assault protocols to meet PCCD standards. The guides include complete protocol templates with drafting prompts, as well as appendices to help with more detailed information. Next slide, please. First, I wanted to quickly highlight what each protocol guide contains. Here we have the table of contents for the Domestic Violence Protocol Guide. You can see the subject matter the protocol guide covers, including the basic tenets of the coordinated community response, background information about domestic violence victimization, as well as each role in the coordinated community response. Next slide, please. And the Sexual Assault Protocol Guide follows similar organization, although there are some distinct differences between the two guides given the varying needs of domestic violence and sexual assault victims. Next slide, please. So what are some of the benefits to using these tools? We've designed them with three main goals in mind. The first being ease of drafting, ideally saving you time. The second being facilitation of better collaboration between members of the coordinated community response and the agencies they represent. And three, improved information sharing and retention, all of which can create better outcomes for the survivors we serve. Next slide, please. All right, number one, ease of drafting. The protocol guides act as plug-and-play templates that include all of the information required for your team to draft complete, well-researched, coordinated community response protocols. This is accomplished by following the guide's directives. For example, there are areas in brackets and highlighted with a blue background to assist teams in filling out their own information. These blue sections contain prompts, hyperlinks to applicable resources or statutes, and some sections even include sample language to assist in drafting that may also be adopted verbatim. There are also many sections that contain standardized information already completed and vetted by experts, such as the guide's confidentiality sections that were thoughtfully created by PCADB. Next slide, please. So here is an example taken directly out of the Domestic Violence Protocol Guide strangulation section. It does a good job of highlighting all of the helpful information included in the guides. This includes legal citations with hyperlinks to the full text of the statute so you know you're always acquiring the most recent version of the statute. Reference that the statutes are also available in the appendix, so no internet is required to view those. Hyperlinks to local and national resources, example drafting language, and pre-drafted sections already reviewed by experts and the work group. Next slide, please. We've also incorporated PCAR's newly released Effective Collaboration for START and STOP Teams video training series into both protocol guides. This allows teams to follow along as they work through drafting their own protocols. Marley will speak more about this video training series in a few moments. Next slide, please. Oh, actually, can you go back for a second? I'm sorry. So there's also detailed appendices included in the tools, such as the Stop Grantee Statute compilation, and this is full text of statutes referenced in the protocol templates with hyperlinks so you can be sure you're referencing the most up-to-date information. Pennsylvania Protective Order chart, and this explains all types of protective orders available in Pennsylvania, from emergency all the way to final, including the protection from abuse orders, as well as sexual violence intimidation orders. We also have a supplemental law enforcement trauma-informed evidence-based investigation and initiating arrest protocol guides. And these are full templates for law enforcement who do not yet have a protocol on point for these situations. And there's also a supplemental basic human trafficking protocol guide. And this is an optional template for teams who desire a more robust section about human trafficking in their protocol. Next slide, please. All right, our second goal, facilitating collaboration. Multidisciplinary collaboration is essential for a proactive, coordinated community response. The protocol guide templates include prompts for members of the STOP team to discuss certain topics and agree upon a shared response. Here we have an example that asks teams to address any gaps that they may have in their coordinated community response based on the needs of their jurisdiction. Next slide, please. Next, we have an example from our roles in the coordinated community response section. This section requires each member to fill out information about their role and responsibilities as part of the coordinated community response. It includes a discussion prompt aimed at improving collaboration, as well as a blueprint for making seamless referrals between team agencies. Next slide, please. And our final goal, information sharing and retention. We know that not all STOP teams have the same level of membership, time, and access to resources. These tools ensure that all teams are on equal footing for protocol development. We also recognize that there is high turnover in the fields involved in the coordinated community response. These tools can help institutionalize procedures, practices, and jurisdiction-specific information for your team's agencies. Here's an example from the Special Consideration section. It prompts teams to input information about what human trafficking looks like in their jurisdiction, along with any specially tailored programs that serve trafficking victims in the area. And that's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. What we'd like to do now is each member of the work group has provided a wealth of technical assistance materials and advised on the project. So each member of the team is going to talk a little bit about some of the things that they've brought to the table and why they think that they will be good for STOP teams to take a look at. So we'll start with PCADV and Danny Beinschroth.
Thanks so much, Natalie. So one of the resources that I chose to highlight that we have included in the specific section that addresses confidentiality is the amazing confidentiality toolkit that is out of the National Network to End Domestic Violence, and particularly their Confidentiality Institute. We understand that oftentimes adhering and respecting confidentiality parameters that are both strict under federal and state law is one of the big challenges for STOP teams. How do you collaborate, work together, share all the essential information, but also protect survivors' information and protect their safety? And this toolkit pretty much has everything in it that you need to know in handling any confidentiality issue, is sample templates. It has sample guidance. It's often one of the tools that I refer to individuals all the time in my technical assistance work. And we've had some folks from the organization come and train PCADV. So I highly, highly recommend if you're struggling with any confidentiality issues or trying to, sift through the confidentiality scenarios going on in your staff team, that this is a really, really helpful resource to look at. And the links are all right there in our section on confidentiality.
Thank you. Next, I'll turn it over to Marley to talk a little bit about what PCAR has available.
Yeah, thank you. So in December of 2022, so very recently, PCAR completed the SART video series, which is a useful tool on the PCAR e-learning campus designed to support STOP teams' development and understanding on a variety of SART-related topics. So some of these topics covered in the video cast series include what effective collaboration for teams can look like, understanding SARTs from the perspective of law enforcement, and even just the very basics of SARTs, among other video topics. The video casts are designed to be viewed by STOP teams or SARTs in collaboration to encourage collective discussion, team unity, and growth among those SART or STOP teams.
Okay, thank you. Next, they'll give Ken an opportunity to talk about the PA Virtual Training Network for law enforcement.
The resource I'm going to talk about is something that one of the things I manage, which is the PAVTN. The PAVTN is something that was created by the Pennsylvania Chiefs of Police Association in order to provide virtual training on an on-demand basis for law enforcement members. The idea was originally designed to extend people's training budgets, make officers have the ability to have training versus having to leave their physical location or their jurisdiction. And then also too, with the PAVTN, it's something that you can kind of take things, take a bite here, a bite there. You don't need to sit and continuously sit like in a traditional classroom from beginning to end. You can kind of work at it at your own pace. The way the VTN works now is we currently have over 80 courses that are on there. A lot of the funding that we get through PCCD or other types of funding opportunities, we end up using to create training. That training is something that's housed on the PAVTN. There's a whole bunch of investigative courses there for law enforcement and for people that are involved in the line of work that we do. Recently, one of the things we've produced and put up recently was a technology facilitated abuse of intimate partner investigation course. Unfortunately, a lot of our victims we see are manipulated or controlled or abused through the electronic technology. And us not have an understanding of that makes our job that much easier to be able to do a better investigation and provide the true justice that our victims deserve. A lot of the information that's provided through our trainings on the PAVTN obviously can transfer over to other investigations that law enforcement would be involved in. The PAVTN is a course, it's something that's free. No agency has to pay for it. And it's not exclusively for law enforcement, what you think of as the badge carrying, handcuff carrying, arresting person. Your agency or your organization can just contact me and we can set up an account. There are different levels of access. We would be able to provide we provide things to the general public actually for naloxone training, for instance. If somebody has an interest to have that training, they don't even need an account. There's a certain section in our training network where you just click on the link, you take the 1 hour online course, and then you print out your certificate at the end to show proof that you completed it. But we can definitely monitor training records. So if your agency, sometimes we have like probation, children and youth, other county organizations that, have certain training requirements. this is a convenient place for you to actually do that. People can be set up as administrators, and they would be able to see a training log and a roster of when officers took the training and or employees, and then also which ones would still need to take it. So it's a very robust thing. Like I said, it's a constantly evolving thing. Right now, we provide things from the MOPEC in-service training courses to elective courses. So if officers need to complete certain credits to maintain their certification, we actually have ones that are approved by MOPEC that you can take as an elective instead of taking the electives that they offer throughout the year if it's something that you're not quite interested in. So if anybody has any questions, you can go to the pavtn.net website. My email is there. My contact information is there. Feel free to reach out to me, and I'm willing to help in any way. But this is a great tool, and it's something that we're maximizing the bang for our buck. The money that's initially put in gets to live in perpetuity on our website and our training site. So it's we reach many more people than what the intended funding was for. So I'm very happy to see that we're able to continue that with our partnership with the organizations here.
Thank you. Amy?
Good morning. So we are highlighting 3 parts from our pacourts.us website. The first one on the far left is in our data dashboards, and we provide data dashboards on protection from abuse caseload by the state, statewide, county, divided by class of county. You can see the totals over time, like from, for example, 2010 to 2021. So you can see over time what those filings look like, the numbers requested and denied, and then some information about why how a case is processed. For example, if say it was the plaintiff didn't appear, or it was withdrawn by the plaintiff, the temporary order was dismissed and it didn't go to a final order, there was a stipulation or agreement, etc. This is important to take a look at because it helps identify trends. And it gives you a good understanding of, say, where you fall within your class of county or compared statewide, or if you've implemented something and you want to see if there's any effect on filings, this would be a good place to take a look. The second thing I would call your attention to would be under our, again, PA courts, it goes under forms and for the public. And under there, we have the protection from abuse and the protection for victims of sexual violence and or intimidation forms. And we also have them in the different languages. That is a great resource. It is also where you would find the most up-to-date forms, which do get revised from time to time. And the last thing I'll call your attention to is under our PA Courts website, again, under Learn, and we have a section on human trafficking. And included in that section, we have references, we have a bench card, an infographic, general information about what human trafficking looks like, fiction versus fact. We have a small video that we have used previously in social media campaigns. And so it's some good information, and we also update reputable anti-trafficking organizations and highlight some local anti-trafficking places within each county. So those are the 3 resources that we're highlighting right now on our PA Courts website.
Thanks. Brian?
Sure. The Pennsylvania District Attorneys Institute will be hosting a training for prosecutors on November 14th through November 16th in State College. This training will prepare prosecutors to handle complex issues using a trauma-informed approach for victims you serve in domestic violence and sexual assault cases, as well as information on how to come in compliance with the new VAWA certification requirement. For more information, please visit PDA's website at www.pdaa.org and click on Visit Institute. and that'll take you to more information for it. Next slide. Oh, that is our, sorry. The next one here is the PCCD one, the Pennsylvania Victim Services Training website, better known as PVST. This website provides training for victims advocates at PCCD funded programs and allied professional whose work brings them into contact with crime victim populations. The trainings on the website are free of charge, and the website will track the trainings that are taken and completed, as well as provide certificates of completion for training records. Some examples of the types of training on the website are human trafficking and addiction, introduction to trauma-informed victim services, and working with victims of domestic violence. For more information, you can take a look at the website, which is listed up there at the pavictimservicestraining.org.
Yes, and the only thing that I will add there is similar to what Ken said with the PAVTN. We can make this available to other organizations. All they need to do is to send an email to the administrator of the PAVTN, and they will be able to be set up with a user ID and password. Okay, next slide. So this is the part that I'm sure that everybody who signed up for the webinar is really wanting to know here. So what is PCCD timeline and expectations with introducing these protocol tools? So yes, all currently funded STOP projects are required to use the tool to update their protocols. Now, I do want to put out there that there are some grantees that have highly specialized projects that perhaps this the protocol requirement does not touch those. However, the traditional county STOP project is who this applies to. So our timeline is June 2023 through December 2024. And what I want to make clear is that, we are requiring county STOP recipients to use the STOP protocol development guides as a way to update their current domestic violence and sexual assault protocols. So what I want to make clear is that we do not require that your protocols be completely rewritten to look exactly like the guides that we're going to be introducing. But we will be checking to make sure that all the required sections in the protocol development guides are covered by your protocols. So we're expecting STOP teams to complete the process of using the protocol guides between now and the end of the current grant period, which would be December 31st, 2024. So what we're planning to do is we're not just going to unleash these guides on all of you and say, good luck, see you in December 2024. What we're going to be offering is virtual bi-monthly check-in meetings to address the questions and provide technical assistance. On the months that we aren't having a live bi-monthly check-in, we're going to be sending out some emails with topical information designed to help STOP teams on different subjects. We're also going to open up the STOP resource account. We will give you the address of that resource account when we send out the protocol guides. But as you start taking a look at these things and as questions occur to you, use the resource account email and send us your questions, and we will start using those to put out clarifying information and make it available to everybody. So a schedule of, all of this will be forthcoming. We're finalizing it right now. And this slide here kind of gives you an idea of the protocol development timeline. The work group kind of took a step back and chunked it out into various stages. Now, depending, each stop team's different. You may fly through the first two and then find that you need to spend a little bit more time on the later ones. But the first part is really team renewal. That's section 1 of the protocol development guides. So this is just taking a look at renewing, reaffirming your mission statement, your goals, taking a look at your current membership, making sure that everybody's on the same page in their understanding of why they're there and what these crimes are. The second sort of bucket is values clarification. So again, it's section 1, C, D, and E. Taking a look, talking through the guiding principles, the certifications under VAWA. Those are the things that we have to attest to the Office on Violence Against Women. There's certain practices and certain policies that we have to have in place in order to get the funding. Then taking a look at victim protections and the big issue of confidentiality among the different systems that are represented on the team. The third part is context. This is getting into section 2, A, B, and C. So we would like teams to, we realize that, there is turnover in various positions on the teams and also out there in the agencies that are doing the work. So sort of a provision of that basic training on DV and sexual assault, the strangulation and special considerations, taking a look at your community. Are there unique aspects of your response or unique challenges that your community face? What does your population look like? Is it changing? How do you need to respond? Then there's the finalization process. So you're going to refine and polish your draft protocols, and team members, I should know better. This is it. Actually, it's writing the draft. You got to write the draft before you can finalize it. Sorry about that. So you're going to define and clarify your roles in the response to the crimes. As Jamie pointed out, there's sections in there that give you discussion prompts and ask teams to go through by system and sort of, take that step-by-step evaluation of why you there, what do you do, how are you going to handle confidentiality. So you're going to draft your response protocols, then you're going to have a period where you kind of test and refine them. So pilot your drafts to see what needs tweaked, improved, or replaced. And then you're going to finalize your protocols, have the team members endorse them, and then January 2025, submit them to PCCD. And really, nobody who's on this call is starting from scratch. And like I said, parts of your protocol you may already have together. There's very little discussion. You can just zoom right through those parts. But then as you work through, there may be some things in the guides they have to spend a little bit more time on. But as I said, we're not just going to turn you loose and say good luck. There are going to be opportunities to ask questions, also host those check-ins that will be done over web meetings like this, where we'll have members of the work group. We'll take your questions. We will also have, we plan to have guest speakers on various aspects of things that you're going to have to address in the protocols. So we hope to give you that support so that, we don't want to overwhelm you with this, but at the same time, we think that this, at the end result, is going to be just really helping everybody improve their response and sort of lifting the whole field up in making the response to these crimes better in Pennsylvania. So if you want to go to the next slide, as I said at the beginning, we will be sending out the draft protocol tools, the resource account, and the PowerPoint slides out to everybody after the webinar. We want to give you the contact information for me and for all of my staff who work on the STOP program with me. Feel free to reach out to them with any questions. The particular staff person, you can find that in eGrants. They will be the program contact. And feel free to address any of your questions to any of the staff. So that's pretty much the protocol webinar. And I want to really, really take the opportunity to thank all the members of the work group, because it really has been a long process. And we've had some very good discussion, and we hope that, through having all the statewide stakeholders at the table, that we've been able to really consider the realities of what each system goes through in trying to respond to these crimes. Do we have any questions in the chat or anything that we should address before we conclude? Okay, well, thank you for your time. And like I said, we will get the information out to you. We will put these on the stop page of our website. And, we will make the recording available in the future. So thank you all, and I hope you have a good day. And thank you for everything that you do. Bye.
Thank you, everybody.